Are you tolerating something in your marriage, or are you accepting? Now, there's a big difference, and we're going to talk about why one is actually better than the other. One will actually produce a better relationship in your relationship, a better experience in your relationship. Let's put it that way, over the other. And we're going to be talking about, are you accepting or are you just tolerating, on episode number 270 of The Relaxed Male.
This is The Relaxed Male, a show that comes to you each week helping men to remove the nice guy from their life so they can actually live their life on their terms. Join the host, certified coach Bryan Goodwin, as he helps men step out of their heads and become free from the thoughts that bind them.
Hey man, hello and welcome to The Relaxed Male. I'm your host, Bryan, and I am so glad to see that you have taken the initiative to actually take on having the better marriage. Let's have the better relationship, have the relationships with our children that we have been wanting, having the marriage that we have been craving. And we do that by, at the base, changing our thoughts. And so many times our thoughts get us into so much trouble because we want to think, well, this is happening. And whatever that circumstance is, our thoughts will create our results. And one of the instances of this is what we're going to be talking about today. And that is, are you accepting or are you just tolerating? And there is a big difference between the two, and why accepting actually allows for your relationship to be better. We're just not even going to bury the lead. Let's just blow it on out there. And so, but before we get started, wanted to just say that if during the show, if you end up hearing something that you like or hearing something that really just resonates with you, please, if this is your first time listening, bring up the show on whichever podcasting app of your choice, whichever one you use the most on, and subscribe and follow. And that way you get every new episode for every Thursday when it comes out, and it's sitting on your phone, ready to go, ready for you to listen. Also, if you're interested in reaching out, touching base, you have a question, a comment about what's being said on the show, or want to know a little more detail, you can always send me an email over at Bryan with a Y at relaxedmail.com. I'll see it and answer them back, and we can have a good discussion through email, or I can receive the question and be able to share it on the podcast if you choose. So anyhow, getting started, let's dive on in. I don't want to waste your time too terribly much, and want to ask, in your relationship, there's a lot of things that our wife does that we don't like. There's a lot of things that our wife doesn't like about us, or doesn't like that we do. You'll hear the stereotypical, he leaves his underwear on the floor all the time. He just takes his clothes off, drops them on the floor, and goes about, I'm not his mother. That type of stuff. It also could be that, you've got your complaints about the wife, and everybody has their types of complaints. And the problem that we often have with these complaints is that we're just tolerating these idiosyncrasies. Most of the time, it's just the idiosyncrasies that, your wife doesn't go to bed at a normal time, and you've got to go to bed at 9 so that you can get up, go to work early, whatever. Or she's telling you how you don't care about her because you don't take out the trash in the morning. Whatever the issue is, whatever the problem is that y'all are having, a lot of it is the arguments that you have are based upon what you're just tolerating. And you hear in society, we're supposed to be more tolerant. We're supposed to tolerate, the things that we don't like. And I'm here to say, really, that just doesn't sound very pleasant. It doesn't sound like something that would allow me to have the best life that I want to have. And if I am sitting here just tolerating my wife blatantly disrespected me, then I'm not going to have the respect that I deserve. I am just tolerating it, allowing her to just step all over me. And if she's doing the same thing, then again, it's not causing you any harm, but it's causing a lot of harm in the relationship if you're not respecting your wife. And she's just tolerating it. Then eventually the pressure of that tolerance is going to build up till somebody snaps, somebody blows up and just goes, what in the hell's going on? You're going to have that 2:00 in the morning fight, or that talk, more likely at 2:00 in the morning of, I'm done. I'm not playing this game no more. I'm getting off the ride. And she files for a divorce, or you do, either one. And that all happens because of tolerating the different, whatever's going on in your life. Now, the problem with tolerating is, the biggest part is that you're not allowing whatever the circumstance is. And we're going to talk about what allowing actually means, because that sounds like, oh, well, I'm supposed to just let her, spend money without any word. No, that's tolerating. When if you're coming at her with the thought of, you're spending all the money, we have no savings, we've got to start saving money, and you're just, you're tensed up about it. You're passing your power over to the fact that the wife is spending all the money. You're robbing yourself of any agency in what you're doing. When you're tolerating her overspending, you're not talking about the overspending. You're not addressing the problem that's showing up. You're stating, hey, she spends the money. She's blowing the money left, right, and center. She's going to learn eventually that you can't do that. And okay, yeah, she will. She'll eventually learn. And one day she's going to wind up being 65 and go, well, why don't we have any savings? It's like, well, let's look here. You spent $3,000 on clothes and dresses for the January alone of 2025. February thankfully is a shorter month, so it was only $2,000 that month. You spent $3,000 in March. And you go through there and you go, this is all the money that you spent. You thought you had to have it. And now there's a lot more to the relationship, and you want to dip down and start looking at what is it she's trying to fill with doing all those types of purchases. She's doing overspending. I mean, that's something most guys will kind of complain about. Now, us guys, we overspend too. I'm not going to leave you off, let you just walk away scot-free on this. We have our own problems that our wives have to tolerate, or doesn't have to tolerate, but they choose to tolerate. But when you're just tolerating something, that doesn't mean you're allowing whatever the circumstance is. You're not allowing the spending of vast amounts of money. You're just not speaking up. You're being very intolerant, which is fine, because society, if you're not being tolerant, oh my God, you're being so intolerant, except for the folks that are being intolerant are being very intolerant. Are being very tolerant or being very intolerant. There's way too much tolerance talks. And so we have a conundrum, because if you're not necessarily allowing a bad behavior. Say your son is getting poor grades. And you're choosing to tolerate it. You're not necessarily allowing him to have poor grades, because you're not saying anything. You're just kind of tolerating. You still have the thoughts around whatever the topic is. So if you're tolerating the fact that you are having a unsatisfactory love life, and you're still sitting there thinking that, well, I just have to deal with the fact that she doesn't like sex. All right. Now, does she like sex? Does she not like sex? I don't know. You don't know. you have to sit and have to do the work of sitting down and having conversations with her and hearing what it is she's actually saying before you can actually make a judgment call on whether she is actually not liking sex, or just maybe it's the way you presenting sex that is a real big put off to her. So how do you approach her in a way that turns her on to let her know that, hey, you feeling a little randy here. Let's go play a little bit. How do you say that? Well, if you're sitting there just with your in a butthurt mode because she doesn't want to have sex, you made your mind up. She doesn't want to have sex. She doesn't like sex. She doesn't care for sex. She's the whole statement that I still fight with, that women don't like sex except for 30 circumstances, that they're looking for a man, they're trying to keep a man, or they're wanting kids. Other than that, the rare unicorn happens from time to time, but those are, incredibly few and far between. Now, you can tolerate that you have an unsatisfactory sex life. And though you have that, you're still going to have the thoughts that are plaguing you and that are making you unhappy. Because yes, your thoughts are what make you unhappy. Not the fact that your wife isn't getting naked for you. Not because your wife is getting on her hands and knees for you. It is because you have the thoughts about the fact that your wife isn't wanting to sleep with you. And maybe it's just that she doesn't want to sleep with you for that one time that you asked her. Or maybe it's because you've tried once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week for the past 4 months, and she still has shot you down every time. Those unclean thoughts, and I'm not saying they're dirty, I'm just saying they are polluted with thoughts that do not serve you. The thought of women don't like sex except for they are looking for a man, trying to keep a man, or wanting to have kids. That thought does not actually serve me. It does not do me any good to have that thought. It just creates a line of resentment and anger and frustration. When in all reality, I know my wife likes sex. We got 2 kids. So that tells me she likes it enough to have at least do it twice, So we know that she likes sex. She's had sex with us multiple times. But what's causing her to not want to have sex with you? Another issue with going through and tolerating something is that you still have the resistance, the resisting of the emotions that are tied with that thought. Well, she doesn't like to have sex. That's, causes a bit of resentment. You feeling resentful. And so you're still going to act upon that resentment. Or you're feeling sad, and so you're going to act upon that sadness by getting angry. You're going to feel like a victim, so you're going to start trying to do emotional manipulation. There's still the emotional feelings that you have there. You're going to start doing the different types of resisting feeling those emotions. You don't want to have the feeling of victimhood. You don't want to have the feeling of frustration. You don't want to have the feeling of resentment. And so what are you going to do? A lot of guys, they go off to work and they work long, hard hours so they don't have to think about what's going on with their wife. They're tolerating that they're not having the sex life that they want. And in doing so, a lot of men turn around and have an affair because their emotional gas tank gets so low that any girl comes by and shows the slightest inclination of interest in the guy, he's going to go, oh, I'm actually a lot handsomer than I thought I was. I figured I was just this ugly ass troll butt. And I all of a sudden, Susie in accounting is wanting me to go have dinner with her. Holy smokes. That's kind of cool. So we have the resistance to the different emotions that we feel. And that cannot lead to affairs, but it also leads to other coping mechanisms that don't serve us either. So we start overeating. We complain that we're fat, so we feel horrible. And so what do? We eat, so we don't have to think about being fat. We're eating because we're fat, and we're bitching that we're fat, so we're going to eat because we don't want to feel the shame of being overweight. We want to complain about not having a good relationship with our wife, so we sit down in front of the television and watch football game all weekend. We sit down and play video games all weekend. I'm guilty of that myself. That's something I battle on a regular basis is, well, let's play. I'm going to try to get through this game. I'm playing Dying Light 2 right now. I'm trying to get through it so I can get back over onto Elden Ring because my son went off and wanted me to play Dying Light 2 with him, co-op style. And yeah. So yeah, instead of sitting in the bedroom with my wife and just having a experience together with her, I'm in the living room, she's in the bedroom, and we're not being close. Now, is that the part of the problem? Yeah, that's a big part of the problem. And I accept what that problem is. And again, we'll get into what accepting is here in a moment. But speaking of problem, tolerating people our actions and circumstances causes us to ignore what the actual problem is. Like I said, if our wife is spending too much money, is blowing what we save on clothing and random stuff at on Amazon. I mean, the Amazon driver knows your wife personally and by first name basis now. What's the actual, and you're tolerating it. You're not going into detail. Why? What is she hoping to accomplish by spending this type of money? And she, the first couple times you ask, you're not going to get much out of her. She's like, I'm just buying stuff. I just find it something needed to find something needed. I think it's a pretty dress. I need whatever. And you just are tolerating it. You're not going to get to the point that she feels unimportant. She doesn't feel beautiful. She feels like she's let people down, that she is not being the wife that she wants to be. And so she, as a means to plug that emptiness up inside of her, instead of having the hard discussions that she needs to have with you, she just goes off and feels better, helps herself feel better by going off and shopping. Same way as when you go off and spend a lot of money on a new fishing reel. You feel pretty damn nice when you go spend $150 on a new fishing reel. It doesn't mean that it's a good purchase. Same as her buying a whole bunch of dresses doesn't mean that she is wanting a closet full of dresses, because she's turning around and giving the majority of those dresses away. The sweet taste of success and of win by purchasing an expensive dress or an expensive fishing rod or anything else is fleeting. It's almost right after you buy it, you're going, oh man, I really shouldn't have bought that. Do I really need another fishing rod to go with my 13 others? Tolerating causes you to ignore what the problem is, because you don't want to face what the problem is, because you're going to come across being viewed as intolerant, or you're afraid you're going to be viewed as intolerant, not being tolerant. And if you piss your wife off, I mean, she's going to be mad at you. And if she's mad at you, guess what? You're not going to have. You're wanting to have more sex. So how are you going to have more sex if you pissing your wife off, right? Well, that's where conflict intimacy comes into play, where you have those hard discussions. You have the critical disagreements in your relationship so that you're able to advocate for yourself, and your wife is able to advocate for her. You want to have a better relationship, you've got to start working on the intimacies. You got to start working on your 4 pillars. And part of those 4 pillars, the mind pillar, you're not tolerating stuff that you don't tolerate anymore, that you don't like. You don't stop just simply tolerating it. Because when you're tolerating, you're simply enduring the circumstance. You're not allowing your thoughts to be heard. You're stifling yourself. You're knocking yourself. You're playing small out of fear. And you're approaching whatever the problem is with an idea that you actually are not very kosher with. You don't like the idea of, well, I'm just going to tolerate it because eventually she's going to learn that we can't have, spend $10,000 on dresses every year. You don't like that idea, but yet there you are. You're entertaining that idea by simply tolerating. And that's why when you tolerate, you're putting yourself into victim mode because, it's not my fault. I told her not to do it, but she keeps doing it anyhow. So I am not completely out of, I'm in alignment with yourself. You're not in alignment. You're out of alignment. You're out of the, the brain, the word just flew right out of my head. Anyhow, when you're in victim mode, you're not being true to who you are. You are just accepting that you have no power. You're abdicating all power and responsibility to an action. It's not even to your wife. It's to the action that your wife is doing, to the current circumstances that are affecting your life. When you tolerate it, you're letting that action, that event, to actually just be the Godzilla of your life. And so you are not being true to who you are. While if you are accepting of an event, this actually frees you up tremendously, because accepting is where you have already done the thought work needed to clean your thoughts up so that you have good thoughts. You have done the work. You've gotten across the river of misery, and you're looking at whatever it is that is the problem, and you have actually accepted it and allowed it. Wait, you're telling me that I should allow my wife to spend money? Again, talked about this, but no. Instead of your wife spending a lot of money and you're getting all worked up because she's spending a lot of money, but you've done the thought work to where you go, I see my wife as the human being that she is. She is a woman who has emotions that are just as messy as mine. And yes, men, we do. We have messy emotions. The difference between how we display our emotions and how our wives display our emotion, or display their emotions, not display our emotions, but, but how they display their emotions, is we are more verbal and more action oriented in our emotions. We get angry. We may go off and, for sake of lack of originality, we go out and chop wood. We feel threatened about our wife getting angry at us, so we shut down. All right, we stop talking. That is actually a display of an emotion. We are feeling like we have been had the thought that we're inadequate. And so we feel inadequate because we think, well, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing for my wife. If she's feeling bad about something, I'm not providing for my wife as I need to, so I'm inadequate. So to get rid of the inadequacy, a lot of times we'll go off and we'll drink a beer instead, or we'll go we'll do some overworking. We'll chop wood. We'll do something. And while we're doing that, a lot of times this is where we do our thought work. Sadly, a lot of guys do not do thought work. They just run from those thoughts, those emotions. We don't want to feel them, so we overeat. Women do the same thing. It's just we do it in a lot more physical manner. Women, they like to talk about it. They will go to their girlfriends, try to talk about it. They'll come to you and they'll try to talk about it. And it actually helps our wife if you can sit there and allow her emotions to come out. But instead we resist. So we try to tolerate the emotions come along. And so we're, and as soon as we see something, nope, okay, off them go. But when you accept, you can hear what she's saying. You can even ask questions that help her dive deeper into her own emotions. And you're not doing it to try to fix her. That's why we fix stuff, is because I would rather try to get the problem handled, taken care of, out of the way, so she doesn't have to hound me about it anymore. So when we're accepting that our wife is overspending, it's not that we're accepting the overspending. We're accepting our wife's emotions that are causing her overspending. We can start to listen to what she's saying a lot more. And that way we can at least offer a relief valve. So she, instead of spending $2,000 in a month, she may only spend $1,000. Hey, saved you $1,000 right there, man. When you approach a problem with a good thought, you're actually okay with the fact that your wife is overspending. But again, like I said, it's not because she is overspending, but because of why. You can work to fix her action. Y'all can work together. You may have to go to a counselor. There's nothing wrong with that. Marriage counselors do a great job. They help provide you with tools on how to effectively communicate. But you also regain your power when you accept, because you've made the choice, because maybe something is happening. Maybe your wife is sleeping with another man. You're not going to accept that. That is actually still very powerful. You have the choice to accept something. You don't really have the choice to tolerate something. People will be okay with the fact that you're going off and going, I do not accept the fact that my wife is having an affair. You don't even have to accept the fact that your wife is overspending money, but you're taking your power back by being accepting. And when you can accept, now, and also, I guess I'm a little late in the game to be saying this, but accepting stuff isn't, you accept stuff based upon what your moral sense of morals tells you. So you're not being tolerant of something causes you to become tolerant of immoral things, while accepting stuff or transpose that within unaccepting stuff, not being unaccepting to a circumstance, allows you to voice your thoughts and your opinions a lot better. And if you can voice that disapproval, you actually are working on your conflict intimacy, and you can actually come to a healthy conclusion. But again, to be able to do that, you have to be able to know why you're accepting or why you're not accepting. You cannot do this in good conscience if you do not have the clean thoughts behind it. You have full knowledge of what the problem is when you're accepting something. You have come to the point of understanding the problem completely and come to a satisfactory resolution by accepting. It may take that you and your wife have to talk it through for a while, and you'll eventually come to a point that you can accept what's happening. She is going to spend a lot of money on the grandkid. You're just going to have to accept that one, man. But the greatest thing about accepting is that you get to keep your power. You hold on to your power. You hold on to your agency. You're not blowing around by the winds of society. I mean, we see society doesn't know what in the heck they're doing. I mean, look back in 2020 when they had all the shutdowns and stuff. So much tolerating was going on back in 2020, and stuff that wasn't even making any logical sense. Like the virus was above 4 foot in the air. So if you walked around in a restaurant, you had to wear a mask on, but the moment you sat down, you could take your mask off. Oh, well, I don't have the Wuhan flu on my hands, so I don't, so we're completely deflecting all all viruses on that clear plexiglass screen that we used to have to deal with, that everybody was bumping. We tolerated that we had to stay in our house in lockdown while the elites went out and played, walked around nonchalantly, got their hair done like Nancy Pelosi did, went to fancy restaurants like Gavin Newsom did. There's a lot of, you better do this so I can do this type of stuff that was going on. And we were tolerating that. And that's the key difference between tolerating and accepting. We didn't accept it. We tolerated it, but we weren't accepting it. So what happens when you tolerate and you accept? There are going to be two different results. So what is it that you are tolerating in your relationship? What are you accepting in your relationship? What do you want to change in your relationship? If you're kind of curious about that, then please reach out to me over at Bryan with a Y at relaxedmale.com, or you can go to relaxedmale.com/try coaching. And we will we'll give you a chance to see what coaching is actually all about. Why and how does relationship coaching even help you have a better relationship? So guys, with that, I want to say thank you very much for listening. If anything on this show resonated with you, please share it out. Share it on Facebook, X, Instagram, Mastodon, Blue Sky, whatever platform you like to use, share it out. Let the guys in your community know there's this podcast out there called Relaxed Male. We're changing relationships. We're making men better men by changing their thoughts. And when they change their thoughts, they have a better relationship thanks to it. And if you have any questions, again, shoot me an email, ask me a question. And if you are interested in seeing what other services I have, please send out an email. If you want to get the show notes for the show taken over to you, please go to relaxedmale.com/newsletter. These show notes will come to you automatically when they're sent out every week. So guys, with that, I want to say thank you very much for listening. Y'all take care. Catch y'all next week. Till then, bye.